Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Tribute to Our Heroes interview. Today I am joined by an Air Force veteran who is currently in the process of retiring. He has a last few months left in his contract, and aside from trying to make sure all his ducks are in a row, make sure that everything's set up for him to retire, have a wonderful ceremony, paperwork, he's also here as an intern with us for the last couple months of his career. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know this man. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to work with him in the last few months. He is really one of the most genuine, nicest, respectable, fun guys to be around, and it was just great to be able to get his perspective as somebody who has been in since the year 2000 and is now currently processing out, which is just crazy. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Carlos Cervantes. All right, Carlos, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for taking the time out to do this interview, man. So, Carlos, let us know. Man. Yeah, of course. Let everybody know your name, where you're from, and just a little bit about yourself. You can start us off.
Yeah, so my name's Carlos Cervantes. I am from San Antonio, Texas. I'm soon to be retired from the Air Force. I joined here in this city, being home, it's really a unique privilege to come back and then just retire out of here.
Yeah.
Air Force has been an amazing journey, and I get to say that I get to retire with my family intact. I have a beautiful wife, Lynn, who's really takes care of the whole family, takes care of everything at home, takes care of me and the kids. We homeschool our kids. Mm-hmm. I have a son. My oldest is 11, mm-hmm. and my youngest is 9. Yep. So out of a 25-year career, we started a little bit later to start the family, mm-hmm. But now I think I get to enjoy them now that I'm going to retire.
Absolutely.
It's still a really nice age.
No, for sure. You know, and Carlos here is a SkillBridge intern with us, and mm-hmm. he's been here since, what, November, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
November is when he started.
Yeah, November is when he started, and it is now coming to the end of January.
That's
and
right.
He's been with us, and he's been a tremendous help. It's been awesome to have him here, to be able to work with us, and it's always nice to get a good perspective from somebody who's like been in for so long and as an active duty member, and just kind of getting their experience and bringing it here, and how you can apply all your skills from military life and of course just personal hobbies of yours. You know, you for sure were a photography guy more so than anything else when you came in. And I've seen your work, I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, I can't teach him. I feel like he could probably teach me a thing or two about photography. So it was nice to have that sort of ability to just kind of have you kind of spread your wings and just kind of have fun with it, and being able to work with us and vice versa while you try to find things that you need to do for retiring, processing out medical. You know, so it was a lot of give and take from both of us, but, you know, we're happy to do it. We're happy to have you here, man. I want to know about, you know, what made you want to start? You know, you enlisted in the year 2000, right? Ooh, yeah. Right at the turn of the new millennium. That's crazy. You know, that's a long time from now. And, I mean, 25 years is a long time for anybody. So, you know, what made you want to do then?
So I grew up as a military dependent, and I almost knew it was going to be in my future. Like, you know, when I was on my own. So right after high school, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try not to join the military and go a different route. My dad was Army. I grew up under his rules, an Army household. He was strict. He was hard on us. A lot of discipline.
Were there any other family members that were also military other than your dad?
I'm the oldest of 10 kids. So and that's a blended family. So my parents split up and then had more kids. But I'm the oldest, and so I had to kind of figure out life, right? So but the thing was, I tried for 2 years. I was a knucklehead kid. To be quite honest, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no really direction, and I was just pretty much messing around.
Gotcha.
My mom is the one who was like, "You better do something. Join the military." And that was the start of it. I said, "You know what? Let me go into the recruiter's office." Actually, I told, this was the true story. Is I told my dad, I want to join the military. He heard Army, and we went to the recruiter's office together. And I figured out pretty quickly that the recruiter and my dad had a conversation, and I was just kind of a side conversation.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? If I really want to join the military, I'm gonna have to go venture out and see what I can do on my own. And so I went to the Air Force, saw what they as far as jobs go, and I said, sign me up. I went home. I told my dad. I was like, I joined. He was like proud. And I said the Air Force. And he was like, what?
Proud and heartbroken.
Yeah.
Bunch of mixed feelings, I would assume.
Yeah. He got over it pretty quick, and he's always been there to support me.
Yeah.
I do go home occasionally, where my two other brothers who are in the Army right now as well, active duty, and so my dad, my two brothers, I'm the only Air Force guy, and so
Gotcha.
I'm outnumbered.
Do you get bullied a lot?
Sometimes.
They pick on you, I would assume. Yeah.
It's good fun, but I can hold my own
Yeah,
by myself.
for sure. It's like, I'm still the oldest, remember that. That's funny, man.
I just have to outsmart them, I'm in the Air Force,
for sure.
So.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's good. So, you just kind of, I guess, finally decided at some point, I just got to do something. And this is obviously a surefire way to, continue the family legacy also in some way, but also make sure it's a good future altogether, which I think is a perfectly valid reason. I remember when I was 18, the only prior service member in my family was my aunt. She was in the Marines. And she was the only one. And the only reason I ended up joining was a complete whim. And it's because when I started thinking about it logically, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm like 18. Like, I'm not rich or nothing. Like, what can I do? Yeah. And the recruiter came in, smooth talked to me. He's like, yeah, man, you want to see the world? And I was like, all right, I guess I'm in.
I got the whole spiel.
I was like, they got me good. Yeah. But I honestly don't regret it. And it's like, I always tell people, it's like, if you don't really know what to do, just, you never know. Yeah. You get a lot out of it. So,
if I could add to that though, so when I first joined, the amazing thing is like, you don't really see the connection between, your purpose almost, right? So like when I first joined, I was like, lacking direction, but it wasn't until maybe I was about E5, I started looking back, and I said, wow, it's not just Destin. It's my whole family. Like you mentioned, for example, family legacy. So, I've had a line of military members in my family. So now there's appreciation. Now I'm at 25 years old. Now it's an emotional, not 25 years old, 25 years in the service.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And now
you're still 25. You look 25. Don't worry.
But now I have this emotional, like, oh man, it like, wow, I can't believe, like,
a deeper appreciation, right?
Deeper appreciation. And so going from, being 20 years old, not really knowing what I want to do, and then actually, lo and behold, now I'm going through this process of growth and growing. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, this is,
Would you want your kids to join?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you encourage them, or do they have like an interest in, potentially joining?
I don't know if they do. They're still young.
Right, yeah.
They know what the military is. They know what the Air Force is. And they see me all the time, when I'm in uniform and I come home. Sometimes they say, Dad, you look sharp, things like that. So I think those things will stick with them.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to pressure them into any decisions. But I definitely would support them. Like if they want to join, I think it's one of the best decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
Can make.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, kids are so... they really are sponges. They see you do something, and it could be anything, and they'll remember, and it's like whatever to you. You put on that uniform, I don't know how many times in your life they've seen you in it, how many times, but that's gonna be the thing that sticks with them. At the end of the day. So it definitely makes an impact. I'm just curious, just because how old are your kids?
9 and 11.
Right, so they're still fairly young, but I know the 11-year-old's starting to get to that, reaching that point where they start kind of observing and getting that self-awareness, especially as a young man. I feel like a lot of direction is needed for young boys right around the time of like after hitting puberty. I feel like I feel like that's the time I needed the most direction. And so I do think that because of your devotion to the Air Force and seeing that growing up, it's probably going to be something they consider doing, whether it's Air Force or it's Army. Maybe they'll make your dad proud and go Army. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, that was my story too. Growing up in my house, like my dad would come in and his boots would be shined up. It was back then it was BDUs, and his uniform.
Yeah.
Just seeing him and then going in the backyard because I saw my dad. I was now playing Army in the backyard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Building forts and
yeah. I want to be just like Dad. Yeah, no, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. You were in for 25 years. Obviously, you joined at a very young age. I guess, is there like a moment within your career, your 25 years of service, that I guess sticks out to you the most, that I guess really highlighted the biggest change, or where you're like, when I reached this point, I realized how much different I've become since I first joined? Something like that.
Absolutely. There's specific moments in my career that I could say, like, I won't forget. Like, moments, I can call them out by year, like 2009, 2013. Those are the 2 years I think out of my entire career, like, really stood out for me. So in 2008 to 2009, I was deployed with my dad in Iraq. That's actually the first 15 years of my career. I was on active duty status with my dad still. So my dad did 35 total years in the Army, until the Army said, you know what, Sergeant Major, you've been in a little too long. It's time for you to leave. That kind of thing. So, but being in Iraq with my dad, that's a unique experience.
Absolutely.
We're 2 different units, 2 different branches. He was north of, I was in Baghdad. I was in the Green Zone at the U.S. Embassy. And so my dad was up north for me. I think I might butcher the city, but it's Bakuba, which is a little bit more activity there than the Green Zone. But I did some on the admin side, but more on personal security detail.
Gotcha.
And so I was stepping outside my career field in uncharted territory where I had no experience as much as being a driver for a gun truck. It was the Humvees, the up-armored Humvees, basically, and Suburbans that we had. And so we would drive our principals around. So I was always on the phone with my dad, or, getting, his insights on things. He would always be checking on me. And then, it was just a great experience. And,
Absolutely.
And so we crossed paths when we were in Iraq about 3 times. So one was my birthday and Thanksgiving. So my birthday's on November 15th.
Wow.
And so we had, a small little stint where we were able to see each other and cross paths. And then he went back through and saw me again. So
it's a good birthday.
Yeah, you could say that they spent their birthday and Thanksgiving in Iraq with their parents.
Yeah, so that's a good birthday for sure, man. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, so that was that first event. And the second event in 2013, I changed career fields, became equal opportunity, had a new career field. My son was born, my oldest son, Santiago. And then I also got promoted to master. So in 3 things in 1 year was like, and it would all happen. At the same time.
Yeah, so that would be a lot, but a good thing, that would make anybody like, oh my God, like look at all that happened in this short amount of time. I guess having your dad there while you were deployed, and that, what year was this?
We arrived in 2008 and then ended in 2009.
What was it like there around that time?
We still had mortar attacks, things like that. In my area where I was located, I think there's been recorded 41 mortar attacks. So
Gotcha.
We would get inbounds and we would have to, go to duck and covers or go indoors. But for the most part, I mean, we had controlled ECPs for routes that we would take and stuff. So there was still some activity. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, inside of controlled areas, I mean, there was a lot of security, but inside controlled areas, we were pretty safe.
Yeah. So there was, you ended up getting married, having 2 kids while your time in the service. Do you have any kind of advice for military couples or people that, maybe their significant others in boot camp and they know that's coming? You know what I mean? I mean, being somebody who's been married for as long as you have and in the service within that time, what's some sort of advice or any kind of, thoughts that you might have on those kind of relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, Lynn and I, Lynn is my wife. We've had a phenomenal marriage, like, since we've been married. We did get married a little bit older, so I was 30 years old. Lynn was 26. so, that also helped that we were a little bit older.
Yeah, right.
But
Definitely helps.
I can't say I was fully mature yet, but with marriage, I think one of the biggest things that helped us, especially being a military family, constantly moving and trying to stay resilient, because there's so many things. I mean, we're homeschooling our kids. You got to move. I got to go TDY. I'm gone for a week. In fact, when I was at MEPCOM, I was like TDY half of my assignment. I was like 1 week out TDY, 1 week back, 1 week out. I think it's just being present and being there for each other, to support each other. That's one of the things is like really, really, if you're not careful, I think life can get the best of your time and get the best of your family. And it's unfortunate to say this, but one of the human factors that we're interested in at higher levels of leadership in the military is one is like sexual assaults, sexual harassment, discrimination, divorce rate. Divorce rate is a big deal, and that's because a lot of people in the military tend to sometimes not stay together, or they retire and they retire at a point where their family is broken. Yeah. So I think you have to stay consciously aware that is the challenges that you would face with your loved one. So a couple of things that we have, and just this is on a personal note, that we definitely just have a rule in our family. Like, one, we never cuss at each other. 2, we never name call. And 3, we give each other grace to make mistakes. So we make mistakes, but I think when you keep that level of respect intact, that's just me and my wife's agreement. We have disagreements, but to keep it in a trusting relationship. And so for sure. She's honest with me, like, you come home, you put your uniform here and you just throw it, and your boots are over here, and but that's where I try to do better next time, but at the same time a little bit of grace, for sure, and never get angry to the point where you're now cussing or name calling. That's where,
that's good advice. I think that's solid advice for anybody, military or not, honestly.
That's true.
No, definitely. No, I remember when I was enlisted, and I just remember I was Navy, so I was overseas, and I just remember the guys on the ship, man, they would really, they would just change when their significant other would show up, and it's like this whole shift that happened. And I still see them on Facebook and stuff, and I'm always so happy for them, because I was like, man, they made it through. And there's other ones where I was like, oh, they got divorced, you know what I mean? So it's like, it is a common thing. Because like you said, I think that note you had said about you got married when you were a little bit older. I think that needs to be highlighted just a little bit more for a lot of people that are just so eager to get that there. But I'm like, you could wait a little bit, you know? But no, for sure, I think it's a solid advice. You know what I mean? Definitely.
One more to add with deployments. So I think deployments, one of the things that I learned too is, so we have technology now. We get on Facebook, we can do like video chatting. So I would dedicate some time to spending time with my family. And you got to get creative. So I remember my kids, when I was in 2016, my kids were young, so the chapel had a room where you can record you reading a book to your kids, things like that. So we had to get creative in the ways that we stay connected. Me and my wife would read a book together, and then we'd talk about it. So things like that.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yep,
for sure. What's been your favorite place that you've been traveled to because of the military?
That one's hard because I've had a pretty good journey on my Air Force career. I've been so many neat places. Overseas. I love Korea. I was in. Some people say, "Man, I hate South Korea." Going there. I was single at the time. It was a remote tour, anyways. If you were married, but. Being overseas was pretty neat. Their culture, just seeing different cultures, was really awesome. Stateside, Peterson Air Force Base was my playground. So Colorado Springs.
Nice, okay.
Rock climbing, snowboarding, camping with friends. It was amazing. That was a great assignment. Had a lot of great friends there. And then Japan. Japan was also, I did 3 years there. And then when I married Lynn, we added an additional year there.
Where were you in Japan?
I was at Misawa.
Oh, okay, that's way north, right?
Way
and
north.
It's super cold and it's kind of small, right?
Yeah, it's a very rural part of Japan, up the northern tip, and the snow would get pretty high. So
yeah, actually, I had a guy on our ship who came from Misawa to where I was at, which we were in the southernmost island. So he was like, "It's night and day out here, man. It's all hot and humid, but it's like snowing up there." So he would tell me it's really nice though, that it's very like small, calm, and people were very friendly and stuff like that. So that's good. Yeah, I like Japan a lot. Good place. Yeah, for sure. What was the worst place that you ever?
Worst place.
The place that you don't like, that you don't remember fondly at all.
Man, I can't say I have a worst, but I could say I'd had challenging places. Yeah. MEPCOM was one that was challenging, but there's, different joint type of dynamics in an organization, but it wasn't so much that, but I think more the challenges that I was facing at MEPCOM was how much I was gone from my family. So traveling, I was out 1 week, back 1 week, out 1 week, back 1 week.
Gotcha.
And there were some other challenging places I've been. Germany was a challenging time for me too. And other than that, I mean, I can't say I had worse places, but I can say life brings you challenges. Yeah, life brings you challenges. Yeah.
Korea could have been your worst place had life partners or circumstances
exactly.
there. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you were, so San Antonio was your final, like where you were last year, right? Like this is the last place.
This is my last dumping. Yeah.
Okay.
Last place. Yeah.
How long were you here for? Like still enlisted?
3 years. I'm finishing up 3 years assignment here. I was leaving Germany, coming here, and with the idea that this would be my last stop. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So you get to come back home.
Yeah.
And then you finish it off here. That's awesome. Your dad out here as well, right?
Yeah, he retired out of, it's Fort Cavazos now, but it was Fort Hood back in the day.
Okay.
So he finished up his time, and he lives up there. He retired out of San Antonio, I should say that.
Gotcha.
Right? So he retired. He has a house up in Fort Cavazos nearby there in Copper's Cove, but he actually retired out of San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know, man. I'm so excited for you. Dude. I mean, after 25 years of devoting, moving everywhere, doing all this stuff, I'm happy for you that you can finally just take a breath and kind of slow down a little bit.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess let's get into being here at Soldiers Angels. You've been with us here since November. When did you decide that you were going to be like a skill bridge intern, or how did that process start? Okay, I guess kind of explain it for people watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Really so I wanted to take advantage of Skill Bridge. I thought it was a really good program. My thing is, when I pushed the retirement button, because I was beyond 20 years, I decided I was going to wait 12 months to retire. I gave myself 9 months. So I requested a 9-month out retirement date, but that pushed me up against like timelines, really strict timelines to try to get Skill Bridge and all that. So I had to do taps and do all that stuff. And then I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and try to get a Skill Bridge. I put my name out there for a few different, companies. So on the Skill Bridge website, I picked like 3 or 4 different ones.
So is that what it is? Like you apply to the program and you can kind of choose which ones you want to go to? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so there's Skill Bridge partners. There's companies that want to take on military veterans in their program. And so they'll register with Skill Bridge. And then the service member wants to participate in a Skill Bridge. They'll go out and look for jobs for internships that appeal to them and what their goals are. Yeah. So, I mean, Soldiers Angels was one of the 4. I kind of, went through a few of them, but this is really completely different from what I was doing in the Air Force. Right? This is more on a personal side where I love photography, love doing videos. I like creating things. Like that's something that it interests me. Yeah, I like it. I like doing it. I feel like enjoyment doing it. So I want to do something that I enjoy doing versus something that feels like a work, job type of thing.
So I think after 25 years of devoted work, I think you've earned it, man. So What was your experience here, man? Keep it honest.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take any punch. You know?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I'll say this. Soldiers Angels, I looked at pretty closely because I also wanted to be involved in somehow, like with veterans, whether I'm working in the gates or I want to stay close to something that I knew. So do something I love, but then stay close to the military.
Yeah.
And seeing what Soldiers Angels were doing, and I did a few little searches like what is Soldiers Angels. I went to YouTube and things like that, and I was like, man, this seems like a pretty cool organization to work with. So that's how I chose Soldiers Angels. Yeah. I'll say I've had ideas of what I thought maybe Soldiers Angels was, but now being a part of the team for the last few months, and getting to see everything that y'all do. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know how y'all do it sometimes. Feeding all of these people with food distributions, sending out 40,000 holiday stockings. Yeah. Those are big numbers. Yeah. I mean, this is a big heavy lift, and I don't think that there's not a lot of organizations that can say that they're making such an impact like Soldiers Angels is doing. So I have a huge gratitude for what Soldiers Angels does. I
appreciate that, man. Yeah. And he's not just saying that for the cameras, all right? I told him, keep it honest with me. But no, we definitely try our best. And I mean, I think, it's easy to like be somebody outside looking in to be like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. But I don't think nobody really sees the full scope of it until they're in the organization and seeing how much organization, how much planning involved, how much communication is involved internally and externally to get some of these things in place. I know we always get talks, we always get comments or something saying like, why don't you open up more food distributions? And I promise you, if we could, we would, but it is a very big endeavor to take on. Right. And I mean, that is our goal. Stay tuned. You never know what could happen. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. But for sure, like, I mean, these kind of things like 40,000 stockings, it takes a big partnership with other like-minded organizations. And luckily, USAA is like right down the street. And I mean, you got to see the inside of that campus of what that was like. And because the big mothership, man. USAA is a monster. It's such a crazy HQ that they got going on there. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm glad you came with us, man. I'm glad you were here for as long as you were, and I mean, you've been a joy to have, really. Thank you. I mean, there's been so many volunteers and people and stuff like that, but I'm glad you were the ones that was here, being able to work with us, being able to work with you. It was fun. It was a good time, and I'm sad it's coming to an end. This is Carlos's last day, by the way. So we made sure to get this interview in right before he hit out the doors.
Yeah. Yep. I was gonna say too, like, I kind of feel like y'all gave me more of a peek behind the curtain because you see like all the stuff, and to some degree I still don't know like how much work is involved because just in a small talk with the team, like here and there, just getting to know each other and like just socializing, I get to see it. But then also going out to the different events, then I can see.
You can see the impact more so than anything there. Yeah, absolutely. No, man, I mean, that's kind of what made me want to stick around too, is just seeing the effect that this place does do. And, I always make sure I like working where I work before I decide to stay here for a long time. So yeah. This is the last we're going to see of you? Or are you going to come back, poke around every once in a while?
Yeah, I'd like to. I have to get a job first.
Of course.
I got to pay the bills.
I fully understand that.
So my next goal is really to start job seeking.
Yep. That was actually my next question. What's after this? You're after your 25-year journey. What's going on there? What are you thinking?
Yeah, job seeking, but I'm also looking at trying to start up my own business. Of course, like anything else, I can't like give up my day job yet. So for sure. I definitely will go back to working. And then, I need, to see what my schedule looks like, but I'd definitely love to come back and help out with certain projects or certain things. Stay connected, and, I always believe in not having too much idle time, so I want to stay active and, definitely involved.
Well, I got no doubt you'll get it done, man. I really do. I know you, and I know your work ethic, and I'm like, Carlos will figure it out. I don't got to worry about him. So yeah, man. Just to finish wrapping it up, man. Okay. I mean, it's been a long time since you can finally say you're hanging the hat on the wall. Any kind of good advice you'd want to give to anybody considering joining the service?
Yeah, sure. So do it. That's what I gotta say.
Nice.
I'll say if you're considering it, it's one of the best life experiences that I've had. I would do it all over again. Joining the military, it's not only just about like going and seeing different places. One of the biggest things is like it becomes a big family. So from place to place that I've gone, I've built new relationships with my coworkers, made new friends. I have friends all around the world. And so being here, I'm not saying like if you don't choose to join the military that you can't have an experience like that, but the military is a unique one. I mean, it's just something that they're going to give you a skill, they're going to give you accountability, they're going to hold you to some standards, so you're going to better yourself, and you're going to make a whole lot of friends all around the world. Again, just do it. I think it's a wonderful experience. And then once you're done with the military, continue to give in some capacity, give back. So I think that's important. Like, it changes you.
Yeah.
It's a transformational experience, and you'll love it. You won't regret it for sure.
As somebody who was only in for 4 years, I can completely agree with that 100%. I definitely see that. And then lastly, do you think, do you have any kind of thoughts on how maybe the civilian population can come to understand veterans and military members a little bit better?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. The military is a very unique. Being in the military is very unique. I mean, it's not just the service member that serves; it's the whole family, and there's huge sacrifices that are made. So sometimes you miss anniversaries, birthdays, you miss somebody's wedding, because you're out serving our nation. And so the things that we don't always understand is like military pay, things like that, with cost of living continuously going up. When's the last time that, military service members' pay was taken a look at and it compensated military members appropriately to survive? So we're in challenging times right now as a whole nation, but on the military side, when you really calculate what does a military member get paid, we're on call 24/7. We don't get paid as much as some folks that
that believe that we got all this money in the bank, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So but here's one thing I want to say, right? So less than 1% of Americans serve in the military. That's less than 1%. So I think in 2023 last year it was 0.4%.
Wow.
That's it. So when you think about our veterans and the sacrifices that they got to make, take care of them, take care of their benefits, take care of them, and they've given a lot for our country. And so I think that's what's important, is just to understand there's a small a small portion to pay for huge gratitude towards the military.
Absolutely. Well, Carlos, that's all the questions I got, man.
Okay.
It's been a complete honor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this interview, man, for being a part of our team, man.
Yeah,
this is awesome to have you.
It's been awesome to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for more videos. That's all we got.
All right.
Cool.